Good evening, you're with Life Skills Patrol, 6 to 8 p.m. every Saturday on Beagle Radio 88.1 FM. We're online at beagleradio.co.nz. Coming up in our show today, we've got engaging identity communication. It's often quite a hard thing. We're going to learn how to do it properly with a very special guest. And later on, we've got engaging safety for men. It's an interview with a fantastic guy doing wonderful work for men in Auckland. Then we'll be engaging technology with our guru R.A.M. And we'll have an engaging affluence with Nick Bridges, the world sought after business geek. Then engaging emotional health and balance with Ren Haskell, and engaging health with Kate Hargis-Roycroft, Arcadia Skincare. So stay tuned, we'll be back shortly with some more. Alright, so I'd like to welcome our special guest into the studio, Michelle. How are you?
I'm alright, thank you.
You're alright, thank you?
Yeah.
What have you been up to today?
Let's see. I think this morning I went to Growers Market here, Whangarei. Beautiful market we have. 6 to 10, and I was just there for an hour there doing a bit of statuing. In case people are confused by what that means, it means I was pretending to be a statue. And I had quite a bit of fun with the kids and stuff, because the kids, you know, of course, want to give me a poke and see, are they real? Are they real? And
so they wonder if you're human or...
Yeah, because I think some of them are having their first experience looking at someone who's not acting like a human, because humans move around quite a bit, especially when they're their age, you know, and then they're not quite sure what to think about it, and then the parents say, oh, well, put down a coin or something, see what happens. So they put down a coin, and then I spring to life and I shake their hand, and some of them get quite a fright. It's pretty fun, but then of course I smile and I lower my glasses and I give them a little twinkly look in the eye and let them know that it's okay, and then I shake their hand, and then they're all right. But it can be quite a fun, engaging way of I guess interacting with adults and children. And then because my character when I'm statuing is androgynous, there's lots of little conversations that come up about, oh, are they a boy, are they a girl? So that's kind of fun too, actually, for me.
That's part of why you do it, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, anyone have any tears or tantrums today at all?
No tears or tantrums. I mean, the fear is mostly brief. There was only one kid today out of, usually it's like, I don't know, it could be 10 to 20 kids who did not want to shake my hand afterwards, who was like, no, you scared me, I'm done with you.
So when they try and poke you somewhere like in the tummy, do you go, yeah, that's right, baby, rock hard?
Actually, some of them, it depends how old they are, but some of them try to shake my hand, or one gave me a good punch in the crotch region.
And that's when your acting talent comes in, right? You don't show the reaction?
Well, I'm packing. So packing meaning I've got a prosthesis there that's working for me. So I've got a nice bit of cushion. Now I'm sure if that was, you know, if I'd been born with that attachment, then that would hurt pretty bad, and I would have to act a whole lot more than I do. But fortunately for me, I just think to myself, I'm just taking one for the adult team, you know, because I'm sure every parent or something has this happen to them at some point.
Oh yeah, I could tell you lots of stories, but he's standing around in the room somewhere and he might come and hit me, so we won't do that.
We'll not do that.
Hey, I'm just listening to you talk, and I'm hearing a little bit of Australian, I'm hearing a little bit of American, I'm hearing a little bit of maybe Canadian. And
yeah.
That's a nice accent.
Thank you.
Where is it from?
Well, from many places, most of which you guessed. I would guess that I'm starting to collect quite a bit more here as well. I lived in 4 countries. And every time that I move to another country, I pick up quite a bit of accent, but I don't seem to ever completely get rid of what I came with. So that's resulted in is this sort of fusion of American, Canadian, Australian, and maybe New Zealand sounds. Because when I go to Australia and I say friends, and they make fun of me because they go, friends, ha ha ha, you know. So I know
like they do, because they're so lovely about that.
Oh right, well, but you know, people make fun of me here a little bit too for saying things that sound Australian or whatever. I mean, this is part of the cultural inheritance, is it not? To give, I mean, joking with people and teasing them is a way of bonding, and I understand that. So it's pretty, I take it all in good humor and fun. But yeah, my accent is a fusion of being born in the States, moving to Canada, so I still say sorry and washroom and those kinds of things.
But what about when you say like out? Do you say like out?
Well,
I can't do without that.
There are some people who say it that way, but you know what we're talking about is the stereotypes of accents, right? So, you know, I would say most Canadians don't say that strongly of an O or a U. I would say the further you get into the sticks or the bush, the more you're going to hear that sound. But in the metropolitan areas, it's a more middle ground. It's more like out instead of oot. You know, I mean that's an exaggeration of the accent.
So, and I mean, but you have to adopt part of the accent, don't you? If you want to be understood, and if you need to go about your daily life, you need to be understood. So you need to adopt at least part of the accent, don't you?
I think if you're an adaptive person, and I tend to be, you sort of can't help it because you want to communicate, and so consciously or unconsciously, you adapt to whatever words or sounds you need to for people to understand you, because wherever you're living, that's just a normal human thing, and it gets very frustrating after a while if you have to repeat yourself over and over again. So I think some people adapt more than others. I do. I know that my sounds change more than lots of other people, but yeah, I think it's, if you're going to integrate into society, then you're going to pick some things up.
Yeah, I can remember being at a checkout in Southern California once, and the lady behind the counter said, "Do you want a card?" And I'm like, "Do I want a card? I'm going to pay with my card. But are you offering me a card to pay with? I don't. No. Do you want a card?" What? And what she was saying is, "Do you want a cart?"
Yes.
To put your shopping in.
Yeah.
Too dumb to.
But her A sounded like an E almost, or
I couldn't
something.
do it. I couldn't do it. Yeah, and the D sounded a bit like a T.
Yeah, I have to think really clearly to try to sound the way that I used to sound, or to try to unravel my accent a little bit. I know with some people talking back home, it will switch more easily, but I have to really slow down, and that is a stereotype in New Zealand.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I was just thinking that it pays if you slow down, and it's probably why I couldn't understand what this lady was saying to me, because she was saying it so fast.
Yeah.
And I think slowing down is a good way to get around it. No, very good. So I understand you have a show coming up. You're here to do a show. It's about sexual and gender identity. I'm tripping over these words, man.
It's all related, baby. It's all related.
So what's your show called?
Okay, so my show, and I've been understood that I have permission to say these words on this radio station.
You certainly do. As long as you don't see the Eagles, you're fine.
My show is called Z. That's in quotations, Z-E-Z, colon, queer as fuck, exclamation mark. And yeah, it's worded like, almost, it looks like you were looking at a definition inside of a dictionary. We're having a bit of humour in the booth here as our technician. Sorry. Apologies for those of you who can't see this. You will be laughing if you could.
And actually, if they could see some of this, it would help, because you're describing the title of your show there.
Oh yeah, for sure. So I wanted to explain my title just a little bit, because a lot of people hear that and they say, "Oh, well, that's a bit confronting, isn't it?" And to start with, it's a tragicomedy, a bit of a tragicomedy. It ends happy. The title arrived as a process of, I guess, what helped me write the show. So the show is autobiographical, and it's a solo show. And Z, that word is Z-E, is actually a gender-neutral pronoun. So Z and Zer and they and them are words for people who neither identify as a woman, who would use she and her, or a man, who would use he and him. So basically where it came about was I was talking about that pronoun with my director, and originally the show was actually just called Queer as Fuck, and because I wanted to be a bit, I guess, a bit radical and get people's attention in some way, and there is a bit of value in using shock and confrontation, but also I'm drawing from sort of an LGBT arts history, which can be a bit over the top and queenie, and all that kind of stuff gets pulled into it. But we ended up deciding on this and to put it in the form of a dictionary definition, so that I could express the frustration of trying to explain to people what Z means. And then with that explanation came an explanation of what gender neutral people or non-binary people, binary means two, from the Latin bi, like bicycle.
You're either 1 or 0.
Yeah, exactly. So this sort of some game of being, woman or man, and we can all have lots of conversations about whether or not a person is male or female. That's a genetic thing, but woman or man is a cultural thing, a societal thing, right? So there are lots of people, myself included, who would identify as non-binary, and that's where those words come from. So the exclamation mark is really about the frustration to be had on both sides of explaining that. Both the frustration for the person explaining it of, I don't want to have to keep explaining it every single time. And also for the person who's asking, if they're asking, which would be a positive stance to just ask about it. Because that person's kind of looking at the world and going, this is just more than I can take in. This is getting too broad a topic.
This is outside of my boundaries.
This is outside of my comfort zone and what I know, and this is sounding all a bit academic, and some people have got to have a hoity-toity identity, and good for them, but it's none of my business.
But that's not what it's about, though, is it?
No. It's I mean my show is a comedy because I want to take a bit of a light-hearted approach for people who are feeling that frustration. Yeah. And sometimes you get so frustrated that you have to start laughing because you just can't cry about it anymore. You just get to a point where you're like, all right, whatever, fine. All right, Z. All right, you want an explanation of Z? It's queer as fuck,
And that kind of says it all, right?
Yeah.
I like that. Nice and simple.
Right.
Kind of distills it right down.
Yeah. So that's what that's about.
Oh, very cool. So, is that how you arrived at the title?
Yep.
You wanted to make a dictionary definition? And
yeah, and I wanted to also do it's sort of a tongue-in-cheek joke about how much we define things these days, and how narrowly we define things, how specifically we define things. So I thought I would do that by introducing, another definition to make it sort of easy for people. But I'm sort of teasing on both sides of the fence, Yeah.
Now, what happens in the show?
So the show is episodic. I call it an episodic theatrical comedy. It's a bit tragic comedy as well. I call it dark humor, I would say, because it deals with sort of peeling back these layers of my identity between what I was handed as a child, which most parents, and I don't think this is unnatural to do, say, hey, you're my child. You're coming into this world, and I've already got an idea about who I am, and that's going to inform your idea about who you are, right?
So you're a boy, I'm going to bring you up like a boy, or you're a girl, I'm going to bring you up like a girl.
Yeah, and that ranges from gender to sexuality to cultural upbringing to what's possible and not possible for your reality. So this show, it attempts to peel back sort of through my history one layer after another of dealing with, okay, well, we've kind of got an idea about what we're interested in. Let's go check that out, and having the puberty experience of sexuality, and then realizing that it's not quite as simple as what I was told it was supposed to be.
So you were told one thing and you found out it's more complex than that.
That's right.
So you're dramatizing that experience.
Right, exactly. So it's sort of a bit of a mix between reliving some experiences and then having a bit of a chat about them and laughing about it. And I go through the sexuality bit, and then later, after I'd come out as a lesbian when I was like 18, 19, 20 years old. And then later on in life I found, this definition, this culture, this word doesn't fit quite as well as I thought it did. but I'd already gone through this tremendously challenging coming out process. So to have to find out that actually that wasn't quite the words for me, and to have to come out all over again from scratch. I kind of tend to tell people, you know, most people who come out go through 2 puberties. They go through the puberty of what they think they're supposed to be, and then they come out again, and it's almost like they have to relearn how to talk to people about themselves. Me, I've come out like twice now. So I've kind of gone through 3 puberties and had to relearn, well, hopefully, I mean, but sort of the point I get to in the show is we're the kind of people that are continuing to grow and to question who we are, not in a way to deconstruct ourselves, and certainly not as radically as I have done, but in very small ways, even to relook at ourselves with new eyes. Then our process of how we define ourselves and what cultures we fit into, not just in the sense of, you know, a national culture, but in the sense of, you know, like when you're a new parent, you hang out with new parents. It's just what happens.
The copy groups.
Yeah, it's just what happens. Or if people in your
profession.
The
school playgrounds picking up, dropping off.
That's right. You know, we have all kinds of ways of making meaningful groups and meaningful communities. And as you grow, they change. And if we've managed to get over the fact that they change in all these other aspects of human life and development, then I think it should start to become okay that people's identities shift and grow and change in terms of their sexuality and gender identity as well.
I see what you're saying. So you're saying that you've got a mum and a dad and some children. Now they're going to go through some developmental stages. Why can't people who aren't necessarily part of that that particular model, why can't other people go through a number of changes and develop as well?
Yeah, at any point in their lives. Yeah.
And you know, it strikes me that what you're doing is really, really clever, because it doesn't have to just be about what your show's about. There are other people who probably should take a leaf out of your book and change a few approaches, because they should be growing too, and perhaps they're not. I mean, you've embraced growth. That's a very brave thing, and you've dealt with it, and you've gone through it. There are a lot of people who run from growth because it's too scary.
Yeah, and I think that's something else I sort of talk about in my show. Now, I don't talk about how all of the things in my life relate to people. I'm expecting that they're going to be able to read into that because it's art, and because it's theatre, and because I'm asking people in the audience to do just the tiniest little bit of work on their end in terms of being able to read into, oh, could that be true for me in a way? I mean, I don't want to belittle or treat my audience like they're not intelligent, because I believe my audiences are really intelligent. So I let them read into that. But one of the things that I think prevents people from doing that searching and that growth you're talking about is shame and wanting to belong. And those two things can often go together, because the things that we are afraid will keep us from belonging to a community or a group are the ones that bring up the most shame in us. And for someone like me, who's both a sexual and gender minority, shame is something that we have to work through to get to a place of pride. And I think everybody deserves to have some pride about who they are and how they live their life, so long as they're not hurting other people. And so I try to make the show for everyone to get to a place where they get to share in that positive, happy energy that happens in a big gay pride parade, where there's glitter and fun and clowning and over-the-topness and, you know, theatricity and joy and yeah, just a willingness to liberate and be free.
And a willingness to actually live instead of exist.
That's right. That's right.
I'm so with you on all of that. I think it's fantastic, and I really think that it applies to just about all the areas of our lives. You know, I saw a meme on Facebook recently. I can't remember precisely, but it went something along the lines of, people will continue to live a lie to protect the lie that they've built their lives around, rather than change their lie to accept the truth.
Yeah. Because
it's a scary thing, and you've gone out and done that. And what I love about what you're doing is you're going out and you're saying to other people, hey, this is okay to do this. You can explore all this. You can apply this to your lives, and you're actually almost coaching them through it with the interaction. I mean,
yeah. Well, the main reason, thank you. The main reason that I try to tell people it's okay is because I think people's number one fear is they're going to be rejected. and that they're going to lose the love and the community that they value. And that is a legitimate human fear. Like,
heck yeah, none of us remember. Well, I don't expect you to remember. I'm old enough. I remember in the day, back in the caveman days, where the major punishment was to be banished from the tribe, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that was big time bad news.
And on those school playgrounds, how do you find out what's okay and not okay? Is if someone will play with you and you'll get accepted on someone's team, and belonging is massive. It's huge. So what I'm trying to tell people is, well, at a philosophical level, there's no way you can't belong. If you weren't meant to be part of this human race, you just wouldn't be here. Period. You just wouldn't be here. It wouldn't be possible.
That's bottom line, huh?
Yeah, that's the bottom line. Is if you weren't supposed to be here, you just wouldn't be here. But also, I'm trying to, in some ways, not create a culture, because I think it's there, but to remind people that we can make a choice to develop a culture around inclusivity and acceptance of diversity, rather than exclusivity and rejection.
Yeah, hey, I love diversity. It'd be a boring life if we were all the same. Don't let your tea get cold.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I've got another question for you now.
And this top was not on.
The top was not on. Uh-oh. That's always
alright.
dangerous.
Thank goodness I did let it cool.
So you brought the show to Whangarei.
Yep.
How did that happen?
Well, I live here.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so I live in Whangarei. I've lived here for about a year. Some people may have seen me at the Fat Camel making coffee or cooking or having a chat with people and trying not to get in trouble with my bosses.
Actually, one thing at the Fat Camel, I had a coffee there a couple of weeks ago. They actually, they put a camel in the froth. Can you do that?
Yeah. It's
wow.
I would hate to reveal Fat Camel's secrets, so I'm not going to tell you how we do it. But
well, of course you can't. I mean,
but yeah, we try. If you go to Fat Camel and you get like a mochaccino or a not a latte, but if you get like that, or you get a cappuccino or something, you're gonna have a camel on top of your cup, and we're very proud of those little camels. They're great.
It's very impressive. You certainly know where you are. You know where you bought that coffee.
Fine training.
So you live in Whangarei.
Yeah, that's right.
Where did you develop the show? Was it here?
Here, I developed it here in Whangarei.
Was that in the last, like you said, you've been here how long? 18?
I've been here for about a year, and yeah. I think I've been writing the show. I think I've been writing the show since before Whangarei. I wasn't thinking it was a show though. What I was doing was, I write shows, and I write a lot of scripts in a lot of different genres for film and television, and but mostly for performance. And then I write short stories, fiction as well. But what I was doing was waking up in the middle of the night and feeling frustrated with my own identity and how to express it, and being frustrated with people's reaction when I was trying to express it. And I would just wake up and I would write things, and they came to me in the form of jokes, in the form of exaggerations, and this kept happening over a period of of like a few months, probably 6 to 9 months, and then probably around the 4 or 5 month mark, I started to look at it and reread it and realize that there's a show in there, that there was going to have to be a lot of honing. But that there was something in there. When I write shows and when I write art, I want to make things that I haven't seen out there yet. And I didn't know of anything that it was out there that was talking about non-binary gender or the complications of identity going on, and how to laugh at it, because people take these things very seriously on both sides. There's the people who say this is very important because we need to learn to respect these people's identities, even if their identities seem new. It's just that the words are new. A serious position. And then serious position two of, this is all a bunch of nonsense, these people need to get over themselves, and it's not that important. There's more important things going on in the world. Also a serious position. And I wanted to take kind of a more joking position of, I know exactly how ridiculous I am. Fine, all right. I'm gonna, people will say, oh, right, gender queer. I'm like Miley Cyrus and Ruby Rose, which are celebrities that have claimed to be gender queer or gender fluid. And I'm like, yep, I'm working on the haircuts. I'm just, so I just sort of try to take it in stride, even though it is a true identity, and let it be a joke.
I like your attitude. Right, you lot over here, you're far too serious. You lot over here, you're far too serious. I'm building a bridge, cross it.
Yeah, I think so. And so, I mean, I'd always planned to bring the show back here. I started really, I had some help from dramaturg and director, dramatist Peter Larson, who's lived in Whangarei for quite a while, but I think is moving back more to the Auckland area to be working more in Auckland. But I approached him after I'd done a gong night at Butter Factory and did a poem about sort of post-gender world, and said, hey, I think I've got a project that I think you might be able to help me with. And he agreed at that point to help me look at the script, and that's when it really started turning into something. And then we turned it into a show and rehearsed it and got it on the road. So it was always the intention. I had a preview here in Whangarei before I went on tour. I took it to Australia and Dunedin, but it was always the intention to come back with it, partly because I want my community to know me, and then also because beyond it just being a memoir and wanting people to know me, I want people to realize how much diversity there is in the world, and to share my art with people so that they can enjoy the benefits of having an artist who's here in Whangarei who's making stuff, and who's making stuff with the talent and the creativity that exists here as a communal experience. Yeah.
There's a lot of talent that exists here. You're part of that. How do you want the show to help people?
So I guess, yeah, it's funny because it is art. I want people to be helped in the sense that they know they're not alone, and that if they look at me and they can just say, well, if that person's saying those things in public, then whatever I've done or whatever I think I am is nothing. You know, it can just be like, it can be really a sort of, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but it can be an experience of, you know, I'm okay. This person's made whatever I think or feel possible because I've gone further than they have, and I've done it in a very public way. But also, again, I do want people to be able to have a laugh about some of these things that are taken quite seriously. And when you're confronted by them daily in a large place with a high population, like maybe, you know, Auckland or Wellington or something like that, then you have a little bit more practice and education around them. But when you live in sort of a smaller place where there's a smaller population, you might not have that opportunity. So I'm giving people a chance to have a lighthearted education about gender and sexuality, you know, here, where they can start to practice it, and then they don't feel like they're left out of the game 15-20 years from now when another identity comes out.
That's great, you know, because I see there is some work being, you're quite right, in the smaller towns, this kind of thing is not as well known, and the support groups for diversity aren't as big. But there is some good work happening in Whangarei. I know Youth Space did a recent video, which I was really impressed with.
Yeah,
it was it was an animation.
Yep.
But the voiceovers, the characters that did those voices were kind of depicting themselves in the animation, weren't they?
Yeah. No, I saw that too. It was great. The Whangarei Youth Centre is a great space, and they've got a group called Whanga Rainbow, like Whanga REIBOW, and that's on Facebook. And then I hope to be having a chat with some of them soon. I think that people are going to find that there's a lot of youth, a lot of people 30 and under, I would say especially, who are in particular more gender diverse, more sexually diverse, and we just don't necessarily have the words or the paradigm to be able to deal with that if we're from the older generations.
That's true. Imagine being a parent and having a young person that's going through something the young person doesn't necessarily understand, so they can't explain it. The old person or the parent certainly doesn't have an understanding because they weren't brought up that way and they didn't go through that growth phase.
Yeah.
You know, so when someone comes to your show and wants to explore their own identity some more, or maybe they've got a young person at home that they want to understand a little bit more, where can they go? Who can they turn to? How will your show help them? You'll engage with them, but where else can they go for help?
Well, the internet's a really beautiful thing, and I really recommend that they do some research on the internet. But I would say if they're locals, if they're here in Whangarei, if they're youth, then yeah, definitely check out the Whangarei Youth Centre and the Whanga Rainbow group that meets fortnightly on Wednesdays. If they're above 18, then I recommend that they go to one of our Whanga Gay community events happening at the Butter Factory. It happens the last Friday of every single month, so we've got one coming up not this next week but the week after on Friday, and that's going to be at 7 p.m. I think it's on the 27th. Sorry, I just dropped the date, but it is on the last Friday of this month, and that's really kind of a social event, but it becomes a way to network and learn information, and you don't have to, it doesn't have to be educational, it can just sort of be fun. Is that what
So the last Friday of the month?
29th.
That'll be the 29th?
Yeah, the 29th
Cool.
at the Butter Factory at 7 p.m. You can find us because we usually put a rainbow something on our table, and we've had everything from 4 or 5 people there to maybe 20 people. There's several hundred people who are liking the page and who are interested in the group, so there's definitely a Northland community around this.
So it could be busy on the 29th at the Butter Factory.
It very well could be, but I really, it's a great way to connect with people and to learn from other people's experiences, and also just have a casual, fun, safe place to talk and learn some more. I also want to recommend, before we go too much further, if you're somebody who's really struggling with identity, and when I say really struggling, I mean suffering from anxiety, depression, possibly suicidal ideation, there is a wonderful resource, a hotline that you can call at any time. I know a lot of young people in particular who struggle with identities can really start to feel like there's no hope. And so it's a free line, and it's a national line. It's 1800 OUTLINE, OUTLINE, and you can call that 24 hours a day, and there is people who are trained to take those calls and just have a chat with you, help you connect to the resources that are near you. And then Rainbow Youth, I would say, as well, is also a great place to go online.
It's all about being able to connect and not feeling alone, right?
Yeah, this is the world that we're trying to create, is a world where we all can be accepted and live and have the best opportunity we can for happiness and health.
Yeah, I think what you're doing is great. When you finish the show season here in Whangarei, what's next?
So next I'm going to be going to Auckland to do my show, which hasn't been there yet. My shows are in May, between the 12th and the 20th, and they're all at 8 p.m. at this place called the Garnet Station in Westmere. I'm going to be putting together a bit of a carpool. Anybody who wants to go to my show here in Whangarei and holds on to a copy of their ticket in some way can come to my opening night in Auckland for free. So anybody who wants to come to the show and wants to make it a big, fun experience, meet a whole lot of other people in the community, and wants to see the show again, I've been told that it's information dense, my show, so and humor dense too. But if they want to see the show again and have a great time with another group of people, meet some Auckland folk, they're more than welcome to come on a bit of a trip together with a bunch of people to Auckland for the May 12th show. So that's where I'm going next, and after that, Canada.
Just want to go to that Auckland thing. So that sounds like a great deal. You mean they see the show here, they buy a ticket, see the show,
yep,
and then they can carpool or get themselves to Auckland, and you'll let them in on the opening night in Auckland.
That's
with
right.
That same ticket.
That's right.
Oh, well,
and
wow.
the tickets in Auckland, because of living expenses, are more expensive.
Of course.
But I really want to make that opening night super fun and a community experience, and invite and have as many people as can fit in the theatre as possible. So that's why I'm making that available to the people where I live. That, yeah, if they want to go see it twice, the second show's on me. They just got to get there.
Who wouldn't? So, and then Canada.
Yep, I'm going on a tour this over the winter in Toronto and then Vancouver, which are places I used to live in Vancouver.
So there won't be their winter, will there?
I know, it's going to be summertime.
Thank goodness for that.
Yeah, summertime and early autumn in Vancouver in September. Yeah, and then after that, who knows? Who knows?
Well, hopefully back here.
Yeah.
All right. So, how can people get to see your show? It's around Anzac weekend, isn't it? Monday, 25th of April. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, it's before Monday the 25th. It's the 23rd and the 24th. So the Saturday, Sunday of Anzac weekend.
Okay.
So, the show's happening at Dickens Inn on Saturday at 8 p.m. the 23rd of April. And then it's also happening twice on Sunday at Butter Factory, the 24th. At 2 p.m. I'm doing a Koha show, so that means if for some reason finances are preventing you from being able to buy a ticket, then that show is just for you. I'm going to have a hat out if you want to donate some money of whatever you think is that you're able to give. It's pay what you can, and if nothing else, then come see the show, and then I'll have a 7 p.m. show that's going to be a regular show there at the Butter Factory. People can get tickets either at the door or they can get them on eventfinder.co.nz. All they have to do is type in ZE under the Whangarei area, and they're going to see a picture of me with rainbow tears, and I mean it should be pretty obvious.
And that look of anguish.
And that look of frustration that's somewhere between pain and pleasure.
Frustration, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good picture.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Well, look, there's no excuse. I think everyone should get along to that because it's just pretty easy to go along, even if you having a bit of trouble getting the ticket price together. You just turn up on the Sunday at 2:00.
That's right. That's right.
And then if you do go on the Saturday or the Sunday and you purchase a full ticket, you get to go in Auckland as well on the opening night.
That's right.
What a deal! No one would want to miss that. Well, look, hey, that's great. Was there anything else you wanted to add?
I just want to say, I guess thank you to this community for being as open and appreciative as they have been. I mean, this is the place where I felt free to write the show. And I have talked a lot to people about it, and so people in town know that I've been working on it for a while. And also, I guess I want to say, if people have further questions for me, I know a lot of time it's really hard to ask things, to be confrontational about having questions about gender and sexuality and things like that. If they have any questions, either without seeing my show or even having seen my show, they still have questions, then I'd really recommend them, look at these resources, but I'm a pretty open person, and if you feel comfortable sending me a personal email, do that. Because I'm interested in developing community. So yeah, I'll just let you know my email address. It's michellelineker@gmail.com. So I'll just spell that if anyone's listening. It's MichellLelunicke@gmail.com. If you want to send me an email, ask me some questions about this. I'll do my best. I'm not a therapist, but I'm happy to help people if I can. And I guess one more thing is, if you feel like you're the sort of person that really wants to get things right, but ends up getting slipped over by pronouns and Z and zer and they and them and
her with an I.
And her with an I, ask. That's the easiest thing you can do, and the best thing you can do is to just jump that hurdle of slight discomfort and ask people what they prefer and listen to what they have to say. It's really as easy as that, folks.
And I can vouch for Michelle, because I had exactly that conversation with you, didn't it? It's like, hey, look, I need to know this stuff, and I'm not quite sure how to go about it.
Yeah.
You were just open, helpful. You even sent me a link to that. Now, what was that link to that website?
Yeah.
18 something.
Minus 18. That's an Australian website, and it's got a great little game kind of thing. A lot of good information as well, but it's got a great little game for practicing using different pronouns. And and if you want to have a little bit of a go, it's really short. It's like a little phone app game. You can go there, put in the pronouns, and then it'll give you all these different sentences and situations where you can just give it a bit of a practice. And I think that's a really great resource, because that's what it comes down to, is just practice.
Yeah, and if anybody thinks it's too hard, trust me, it's not too hard. I got 80% on my first go. Thank you, Michelle.
Yeah, no worries. And I'm just excited for people to, if you're listening and you care about people being treated the way they'd like to be treated, to be respected, you're already an ally in my book. That's all I ask from you, anyone, because that's what I want to give you too. So that's what I guess I'd leave you with, is that's all you got to do. Bottom line is, listen to people and respect them the way you might like to be respected, and have a bit of a laugh about it at the end of the day if you can.
2 ears and 1 mouth, use them in that proportion. Sounds like healthy advice to me. We'll be back in a second. We're gonna have a chat with Brent, who's part of Wise Guys down in Auckland. Be back soon.
Yep, okay, I can be, my story started when I basically was separated from my children at quite a young age. It's always in their life. And I got a phone call from them when they were around the ages of sort of 11 and 12, saying that they didn't really want to stay with their mum anymore. They wanted to have a break and come with me. There was just some things that mum was doing that wasn't really appealing to them. So I said, yep, that's fine, no problem. I'll step up, be a father, and have them full time as opposed to just sort of having them on the weekend. And I went down to social welfare, said, look, here's the story, this is what I need to happen. And they said, well, look, that's wonderful that the children want to live with you. However, they are registered with their mother, and in order for them to leave and come with you, you have to go to court. Okay, fair enough. Went to court, sort of found out about the justice system and how it worked regarding fathers and bits and pieces. And I managed to gain custody of my children. And apparently that was quite a rare thing to do. So that was all fine and dandy, and I got custody of my kids. I got a house in the North Shore, and things were going great. Then, of course, reality struck where it was hard for me to still remain working and look after the kids. So I ended up being on sort of DPB, and then, of course, reality hit me that going from earning a lot of money to not a lot of money. How did I look after my kids? Had to learn to cook, had to learn to feed them, had to learn to survive. So the hardest thing I ever did in my life was walking to the Salvation Army and put my hand out and ask for a food parcel. That was given to me, it was sorted, and of course there I met a gentleman by the name of Stefan John, who is now my business partner. Now Stefan was working for the Salvation Army in a role of intakes and bits and pieces, and then just finding out people's story. And what he found was a bit like myself, there was lots of guys out there who struggled. So throughout the next few years, as I raised my kids, Stefan was putting together this group called Wise Guys, which was basically a bunch of guys getting together once a week and just having a chat about how things were going. And so we got involved with that and carried on through there and started just basically attending groups. And that was my very first introduction to sort of understanding sort of some of the plight that men have in their journey to be listened to be heard, rather than just victimised, and rather than just being put up on this idea that men are only the perpetrators. You know, they're never really the victims. And if you're a victim, well, you know, you must have done something to deserve to be.
Or you must be a sissy.
Yes, that's it. You know, you go to your mates down the road, look, hey, I'm having a few dramas with my missus, and, you know, she's really getting on top of me, and it's this and that, and the guys are like, hard enough, bro, you know, what's going on? So, yeah, that was our first sort of introduction to what was happening there, and we started doing groups. And on top of that, based in the North Shore of Auckland, we were at the stage where we needed something for the men to do. We were getting bigger, and the community was sort of growing, and seeing here we were. So I approached the Salvation Army, where Stefan used to work, and said, look, hey, we want to put together a community-based meal. We've got a couple of guys in our group who are chefs, and we want to give back. And they were basically like, well, okay, we've been trying to put one of those together for quite a while, but by the time we did community impact studies and this and that, and you know, maybe we hadn't worked this out. We were like, well, hang on, just give us the hall and give us a room and give us a day and we'll have a go. So they agreed to it, and that's where we started. And for the next sort of 2.5 years, every Friday we put a meal on at the infield. And it went from there. We started with 4 or 5 people coming, and got to the stage that there was well over 200 people on a Friday afternoon would come in for a meal, and you
200.
Yeah, some of the photos we'll see in the early days on our Facebook page are incredible of the amount of people that were there. It was due to the fact that we were just all coming together and a communal base of people having a bit of fun.
Wait, hang on, Brett, can I just ask? So you're telling me that you managed to get a group of 200 struggling men together?
No. The community meal that we did at the Glenfield Salvation Army on a Friday was for anyone. So that was men, women, children. So that was a gathering of people.
Okay.
But it was it was organised by our men's group. So the guys that came to us on for our weekly meetings, they did everything. They put the tables out, they put the chairs out, they organised the food, they cooked the food, they prepared the food, they presented the food, they then ate with them, they then cleaned up, they then put the tables away, they mopped the floors. We had a few volunteers come and join us and help us. So that was a way of getting the men to have some dignity and some self-worth back, to be able to walk into a place rather than look at the floor, to be able to hold their heads high with pride and say that I am part of this amazing thing we're doing.
That's cool. And did it have any impact on, you mentioned the women and children that were attending the meals, did it have any impact on the community, that they were being looked after and catered to and entertained and dined, and did it have an impact on the community?
Certainly, yes. Yes, the word was soon spread that this was the place to come, and word very quickly got back to us, because we were working closely with the community constables and the police department and social agencies and a lot around that area. And the name Wise Guys was regularly used, and even back then we had an 0800 number, 0804 Wise Guys, which is 0800 494 734, which we still operate to this day. So lots of people were ringing us and talking to us and being there. And it was the work that we were doing was just that first step in basically the people taking back the community, having some self-worth, having some strength, having the ability to be able to come together as a whole rather than just be looked down upon, and actually say this is what we're doing.
Fantastic. So that's how it started, as a community gathering. You cooked meals for the community.
Yep.
And you had meetings with these gentlemen who were sort of, some of them were going through a bit of a hard time. So there was a bit of peer mentoring happening as well?
Yes, yeah, peer mentoring and lots of working together and ideas. And so we sort of expanded and ended up having 3 areas where we had meetings and a couple of community meals. And we got to the stage where we'd sort of done as much as we really could on the North Shore. And then part of the biggest thing that was coming out of the meetings that we were having was the fact that these guys had nowhere to live. Now, they'd come along and they'd be staying at someone's place, or this would happen or that would happen, and all of a sudden they'd have a disagreement, or they didn't have the social skills to be able to adapt to a situation that was in. And that's just normal, it just happens without knowing the ability and how you are. That's what happens. So very quickly we started saying to someone in the group, like, this is Bob, for example. He's been with us in the group for a while, and you guys meet once a week, and look, he's been kicked out of the place he's living at, and you've got a spare room, Harry, can you take it? And so of course Bob would move into Harry's, and they'd go well, and of course the next thing, it wouldn't work, and poor old Harry would be upset at the fact he had to take Bob, and obviously they're just fictional names, it didn't work. And of course then we'd have 2 people that would be sort of homeless. And so we very quickly, Stefan and myself, figured out that we had to do something about this. So we started looking around for houses, multi-room places that we could sort of come together and start putting men into. And of course that opened up a whole other line of inquiries as to, who were we, what do we want to do, why were we doing this, and the struggle to get a landlord, to get anyone to actually let us put a bunch of men together was like, oh my God, it was like trying to say, like, everybody needs a prison, but please don't put it next door to me.
Right, yeah.
So we worked our way through that, but we eventually, after struggling, we got a place up in Albany, in like farm, and we started with one guy, and we got sort of about 14 or 15 men, and worked our way through, and were there for about a year, and then we ended up finding Kingseat out there in South Auckland, which is a wonderful place. It's in the old Kingseat psychiatric ground.
It's a nice country spot just past Karaka, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a wonderful spot. Like, I'm there at the moment, I live on site. We've got 2 villas out there. It's on 150 acres of land. And yeah, it's a lovely, nice, quiet, rural setting. It's a long way from nowhere, which it's not really. It's 14 k's from the closest town, all around us. But if it's without transport, without buses, it's just a nice isolation place, and gives guys a chance to get back to nature and a bit of peace and quiet, and learn how to, just basically be happy with themselves again.
So what do you do on the acreage there with these fellas?
Okay, well, obviously we don't have the whole 150 acres. There's a major complex. It's like 100 villas out here, and a lot of them have been run down, and there's lots of families living out here, so it's a good communal-based thing. We have 2 of those villas and a nice big land area out amongst it. My passion is fishing. I've got a nice 7-metre boat. We take the guys fishing. We go and catch lots of snapper. Last year we got 3 marlin, taking game fishing. These are guys that have come off the streets that never had that opportunity. I always remember the story of taking a young fella who spent most of his life inside and an abusive family and just a horrible upbringing. And the fact that he went out with us and saw dolphins and he got to hang off the front of the boat, and he was so excited that he almost got to touch one, and he just for weeks afterwards was explaining to the house just what nature can do. And it's little things like that warm the heart and make it all the struggle worthwhile.
That's fantastic. So you've got a 7-metre boat, you use that. There are dolphins in the Manukau?
Yeah, plenty of dolphins in the Manukau.
Wow.
Yep. Most of our fishing, of course, is over the Manukau Bar.
Right.
So we're, Coast Guard member, and we've got life jackets for everybody. It's fully safe. But part of the hardest thing is trying to convince the guys in the house, like, it's a beautiful day here. Well, why can't we go out and fishing? Well, it's maybe nice here, but we've got to get across that bar, and it's might be 2 or 3 or 4 metres on that bar. We just can't go today. So guys are starting to learn and understand, So we are safe. But yes, we catch lots of fish. We have lots of fun.
I've seen some of the photos. Some of those are pretty impressive, Brent.
Yes, yeah. Well, if you're going to do it, you might as well do it properly.
some of them are almost as tall as you, mate.
Yes. Yeah, some of them are. I got a nice, had my birthday the other day, and the fishing gods gave me a nice 6.5 kg snapper for my birthday, so that's sort of 14 or 15 pounds. It's quite a nice size, and we managed to have the raw tarwai and fried snapper for dinner the next night, so the guys are having a wonderful meal.
So tell me, you go over the bar, so you're heading out past the Fitu Peninsula, are you?
That is correct. Yep. We fish in the summer. We fish in sort of 15 to 30 metres depth. That's how it works on the Manukau. It's only 10 cycles. In the winter, we're around the 60-metre mark, and there's plenty out there. And let's say in the summertime, you go game fishing and get the tuna and the albacore and the mahi and the marlin, and just putting smiles on guys' faces and giving them the opportunity to do something that otherwise they probably would never have the chance to do, and just show them that there is more to life than just sitting in front of a television, hiding in a room, smoking drugs. There's more to life. Get out there and do it. Feeling a bit depressed, the best thing you can ever do is be out in nature.
Now, Brent, please stop me if I say the wrong thing, but the reason you're an expert at this is because you've been there, you've done that, you've come back, right?
Oh, most certainly, yes. No, my story is very open. Part of the reason why I can work so well with all these men is that I have come that way. I've probably smoked more pee than half of New Zealand. I've been alcoholic. I've been, whilst I'm not a gang member, I never have been, but I've been associated with them and know them all and worked with them. And it's what the life was. And if I go back to right at the very beginning when I said about my kids and how I managed to get them, I had to make a decision. Do I put stuff inside a glass pipe and smoke it, or do I feed my children? Now, I was one of the most fortunate, luckiest men on this planet that I would manage to be able to say, no, I'm not going to smoke it, I'd rather feed my kids. And that was the first start of my journey to being drug-free. I've been totally clean for 5 years, and loving it. But yes, I have been that track, and I can relate to the guys. And I do believe that it definitely helps with the people that we've been working with to be able to talk to someone like me who has experienced it, as opposed to just someone that's read it in a book.
And I've spoken to you before, Brent, and I really know when you say you don't need to touch it. I know you don't really, because I know you've tested yourself, and I know you've tested yourself more than most people would, and it's rock solid, right?
That is correct.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
One of the things I love about you, it's awesome. It's a great story.
Yeah.
Get hold of Wise Guys just to hear Brent's story. It is completely inspiring. You think that things are tough. Well, I'm sure they are, but you've got someone on the other end of the phone when you ring Brent that understands and can actually lead you through because he's been there, done that. So when you've got these big fish, you bring them back and smoke them, barbecue them. What do the guys do?
Oh yeah, definitely. Okay, so if we're catching snapper and bits and pieces, we bring them back, and the guys fillet them and clean them, and we do those. If we catch a big marlin, then even that itself is a new experience, teaching guys what to do. So we get a big table out and lay it on there, and you put it on its side, and you cut them up into big slices about the size of 2 fists worth. And then I've got a mate of mine who lives in Pukekohe, got a massive big smoker, so we give it to him and he smokes it for us. And then again, beautiful smoked marlin is divine. And then once you've got that, of course, you can do whatever you like with it. You can eat it raw, and you can make it into smoked marlin pie. It's beautiful, and of course it does 2 things. Number one, it gives the guys a buzz for catching it, and number 2, it helps feed the house.
So what's the best sort of pie? How do you make the pie with smoked marlin? Do you put the potato on top, or what do you do? What's the recipe?
The recipe is make your pie base, of course, smoked marlin, chop a onion with it, chop up a capsicum, mix that through, a bit of salt, a bit of pepper, put your pie top on and put it in the oven, and just until your pastry's cooked. Because your marlin's already smoked, you don't need to overcook it. One of the biggest problem most people do with fish is overcook it. So just as long as it's like making an ordinary pie, let it be there, let it cool, and that's it. You can get also put a bag of mixed veggies in it if you want to put a bit of veggies here, which is good for the guys to get a little bit of veggies with them, and yeah.
No, I haven't had dinner yet. You're making my stomach rumble. That sounds cool. So how many guys have you got there at King's Seat now at the moment?
Okay, at the moment as we sit right here right now, I've got 32. We have a capacity of 75 at this stage. We have had up to 63 at one stage, was the most men that we've had at one stage. And that makes it for interesting living.
It would make for very interesting living. You get a lot done, maybe.
Yes. You can get a lot of like-minded people together, can achieve a lot. And we get on well. The main thing is the fun and the excitement and the camaraderie is probably the biggest key to our success. If I had to find one word, is camaraderie. They're all together, and guys doing stuff for other guys because they want to, not because they have to.
I was just now the previous guest that was on the show just before you, Michelle. She spoke along a similar line. One of the biggest things people fear is rejection. One of the biggest ways to fix that is to get connection. That's what you guys do, right?
That is correct. Yes, that's exactly what we do. We all live in a communal area, so everyone's got their own room, obviously, and they're big enough to have like a double bed and a bit of furniture and stuff in there. And then, of course, everything's communal. We've got a couple of lounges, and we've got projectors in them. We've got a couple of pool tables. The other day, we went out and did a race car track, this little slot car racing. So, of course, got lots of guys. So we bought 5 tracks and joined them all together, so made a massive big one. So we've got lots of area, and guys played with that and made tracks and changed and altered. Just anything that brings people together. We also have talking about the food. Like, for example, everyone here's on a wins benefit. So if Wise Guys provided food, we'd become a boarding house, and the guys would lose a third of their benefit, or they'd lose a fair amount of their benefit anyway. And they don't get a lot left over as it is. So what we all do, myself included, because I live here, we all pay $20 a week, and that goes together. So you've got 25 people paying $20 each. There's $500. Now that $500 as you're buying as a whole gets us a meal. One meal every night. So a bit of help from Kiwi Harvest, City Mission, a few other places who donate a bit of food as well. We can manage to squeeze out 7 beautiful meals. We have roast pork. I've just been out today and bought corned beef because it's like $6.50 a kg at the moment, and you can just buy the special deals. So what happens is for the $20 a week, 1 day a week, they are into the kitchen. So they'll be put together with 3 or 4 of their mates, and they will have to prep the food, get it out the freezer, make it ready, prepare it, serve it, and then clean it. So not only are you getting a cheap meal, you're also teaching the guys who have probably never ever been in that position where they've had to cook, where they don't know how to cook, where they need to learn. And by the fact that they're in there, even if they just start by washing the dishes, they will soon learn how to cook. So when they leave us, at least they'll have a basic school rather than have to just live on takeaways.
Real life skills right there.
Yes, exactly like that. And I say, so where else can you feed yourself 7 days for $20? An individual can't do it, but a group of people coming together, combining, can.
That is fantastic. And so, what's on the drawing board for 2016? Is it more of the same, or have you got some more plans to expand, or what are you guys thinking?
Yeah, well, we've actually had a little bit of a policy change. What we're actually now, cause we had a period for the last couple of years where we were sort of working with sort of men and solely men. What has happened now is that we've realised that if we go to pick the man up in the city who's living on the streets, and his girlfriend's with him, and they're both living under the bridge, now he ain't going to leave it. You know, so we have bought what's called the community housing project. So we are now open to ladies as well. We are, of course, first and foremost, a men's refuge, and we'll always be. But we can now take men and their partners, and we have done that for the last sort of 6 months. And we are taking the odd individual lady as well, who's can fit into obviously what we're doing and where we're at, and it's working wonderfully, wonderfully well. So that's where our new sort of direction is. We are also at the stage where we are working closely with a lot of mental health agencies. We've opened up the doors to mild mental illness, and they are coming in their droves at the moment. We are really, really getting them, and the great thing about that is that they're all, once again, linking together. Because we're not government funded, because we're not a government agency, we basically have three main rules: no drugs, no alcohol, and no violence. Apart from that, the guys are pretty much free to do what they want. We're not like other places where, hey, it's 10 o'clock, the TV's got to go off. No, it's like, I don't care if you want to sit up all night and watch television, you can do that. As long as you're there at the Monday meeting, as long as you're not interfering with other people in the house and disturbing their sleep, then, you know, you're free to do what you like.
So it's about do what you will, harm none.
Yeah, that is correct, yes.
Sounds like a great philosophy to me.
Yeah, you can have as much fun as you like, as long as what you're doing doesn't interfere with other people or upset them, then we're all happy with that.
I tell you what, Brent, I'm looking forward to my next trip to Auckland, whenever that is, because I'm certainly going to come out and say hi to you and Stefan, because you guys are amazing. Is there anything else that, any more information you can give us just before we close off? Because I know there could be some gentlemen who are listening and could be thinking, gosh, that sounds good. How do I get hold of Wise Guys? I know you said the 0800 number before, but can you give us your contact details again, please?
Yeah, okay. Now, look, we are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if you ring the 0800, it's the easiest way to get hold of everyone. And our number is so easy. It's 0800 4 Wise Guys, which is 0800 494 734. Failing that, there is our email address, which is also made it nice and easy. It's 0800, the number 4, and then Wise Guys, WISEGUYS, so all one word, .org, O-R-G. So 0800 4wiseguys.org, that's the website, so that will show plenty of photos. That also has probably one of the best, most exciting ways of describing who we are. That has a link to our Facebook page. So if you go to www.0800-4wiseguys, jump onto that, then jump onto the Facebook page, and then click on photos. There's something like 2,000 photos on there, and it shows our story going back 7-8 years, right from our beginnings on the North Shore, all the way through our refuge and dairy back to where we are today, and the work, the graduations, the hungies, the beach outings, the sports days, the slot car racing, the fun and games, and the excitement, and of course we have counsellors available, we have group work available, we have facilitated peer training available. One of the biggest successes to Wise Guys is that the helpers that we have, the people in the house, once they've been here a while, want to go on and give back, we put them through a facilitated training program, and then they become peer support. So every single person, my house father, Mark Chapman, came to us via his struggles with alcohol addictions and where he's at. He runs the house now. Intranet, my lady who does the office work, she's come here with his partner and doing stuff. So everyone that works in that same environment has somebody that has stayed with us before and knows exactly the struggles that everyone's going through.
Cool, and that's great. I just thought of one other thing I'd like to ask before we do go. So you've got a brilliant setup there. You've got a great program there. Good life skills being taught and enjoyed. And what happens after the time there? Is there a sort of a graduation process back into the community?
Well, everything is ongoing. We specialise, and we had it right from the start. If we go right back to the very first days of our house, of the group meetings, was that we had what's called ongoing support. So we are always available. As I say, I'm available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Any hassles, give me a ring. When someone is ready to go back to the community, we support them all the way, and they can come and visit us, they can come and see us, they can come back and stay for a night or two if things are just going a bit rough. They can ring me on the phone. We can link them into other organisations that are out there in the areas. So it's ongoing support. We're not like, hey, you're out the door and see you later. Even to the point that over the years of what we've done, obviously people break the rules, and that happens. So, hey, you might be evicted or kicked out. I don't hold a grudge. The deal is this: if you are asked to leave Wise Guys at any stage, somewhere between the next 6 to 8 weeks, you can come back. We can sit down and have a chat. Okay, have you learned anything? Where you're at? You want to come back? Cool. Let's try again. No. And sometimes it takes 2 or 3 visits for the man to actually learn what's been going on for his life and how it works. And it's wonderful. Some of my greatest successes are guys that are here on their 3rd time, and they are just so much different than when they were with us the very first time a couple of years ago.
So it's a learning process. You're facilitating. You're helping people get up to that level. And you know, I mean, I'm fortunate enough. I've met with Stefan. I know he has some very unique approaches to what other people might call counselling.
Yep.
They call it counselling, but you guys are just helping people live, right?
Well, Stefan is a fully qualified supervisor now, so he's as far as that counselling trade goes. We had at one stage had 5 counsellors working here, and it was proper counselling, and we go from there. Well, so what we do is now is everything loosely based on around the loving, the compassion, the understanding, and support. And yeah, call it counselling, call it meditation, call it group, call it whatever you like. At the end of the day, it's a couple of guys listening to what's going on for you and just helping guide you on a discovery journey of how your life can be.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get to. That Stefan is an incredibly intuitive man, as are you, and there's really no danger. You guys can just about handle anything.
Yes, and we've proven it, you know. And whilst we have it a bit changed, we're not really dealing with the justice system anymore. We did run one of New Zealand's most successful reintegration programs that they've ever seen. We've saved the government somewhere around about, I think we looked at the other day, it was about $5.8 million that we saved them from incarceration fees, and had success. It's just that we're changing our direction now. We're going more towards the mental health sort of side, and really doing some work in there.
And I love it. Yeah, I'm definitely going to come see you guys next time I'm in Auckland. Brent, I'm really grateful for your time this evening. And if anybody needs to find out more, then the website is www.0800-4wiseguys.org. I recommend you have a look. The proof is in the pudding. The photos are there. The information's there. There really is no mystery. But, you know, you guys really aren't the world's best kept secret. You're there. People can find out. You're real. And I think I'd encourage any guys to reach out to you because they will certainly do well. So thank you, Brent, and good night from us. We'll with you, Brent, and I'll catch up with you very soon.
Anytime you like, mate. I live on site, so just pop in and say hello. And if your timing's right, mate, we might get you out for a fish.
Sounds good to me. All right, good night, Brent, and thanks for your time.
Thanks, Wayne. Talk to you again. Bye-bye.
Thanks, mate. So you're on Life Skills, Radio Beagle 88.1, www.beagleradio.co.nz. If you do want to contact the station, you can contact us at info@beagleradio.co.nz. Coming up, we've got world-renowned business risk aversion consultant Nick Bridges. We're going to have a little chat about we're going to carry on from what we discussed last week with the recruiting process. We'll be back in a moment with Nick. Hi, you're with Life Skills 6 to 8 every Saturday on 88.1 FM or online at beagleradio.co.nz. We're now talking about engaging resilience. You know, when life batters you around a bit and you've got to get up and go again. That seems to be the theme of the evening, so let's continue with it. We've got Nick Bridges, world-renowned business risk consultant, and we've got Kirsty Ryan, job candidate on the phone. Hello, Kirsty, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm well. Welcome to the show. And Nick.
Thank you.
Welcome, Kirsty.
So,
thank you, Nick.
all right. So, Nick, resilience.
Well, resilience is a word that's been going around for a few years now, but what it really means is the ability to bounce back. And it's really talk about how do you cope with life's challenges when they turn up. And the reality is we're all going to have peaks and valleys. A valley is when things aren't going too good, and a peak is when you're basically on a high without necessarily losing any substance. Thank you very much. So where we come from is we often find that when we're in the valleys we get time to reflect, and it's that time that we spend reflecting and working out our next steps that helps us get into the peaks. When we're at a peak, it's important to realise that that particular peak might end. For instance, your job might end, your relationship might end, you might have to find a new house to live in, you might decide to go overseas, and therefore while you're at the peak you should be planning about how you're going to cope with the change, which often leads you into a valley before you reach the next peak. Now Kirsty, how about giving us some insights as to where you have been in recent times?
Yeah, Kirsty,
Yes.
tell us your amazing story. What have you been up to the last few weeks?
Yes, my life has been a bit of a roller coaster lately. I've had a few little hazards and obstacles get in my way from getting employment, and life itself is a big obstacle at the moment. But as long as you hold your head up high and believe in yourself, then you'll have the willpower to be able to achieve the goals that you want to achieve for yourself. Just don't give up and push yourself to like that extra mile, and just walk around with a smile on your face and a can-do attitude, and you'll be sweet. You'll get through, you'll get through life.
I love it. Yeah, and I mean, yeah, really, Kirsty, it hasn't been easy, has it? But I know your attitude is to, well, I'm not going to let this beat me. We did a personality test at stepping into employment, and how did you come out of that personality test? Tell us.
Well, my personality, I'm a bubbly person and I'm an all-rounder. And without being a bubbly person, I don't think I'll be the person I am today. Because laughing and smiling keeps me going. It gives me that extra push to be able to get what I want.
Yeah, it's not fair. I turn up at class and I want to be sad, and Kirsty won't let me.
Yeah, and I won't be defeated. I'll keep going and going and going until I achieve my goals, and that's seeking employment.
Absolutely. Now, if you could, what sort of work are you really wanting to get into?
I would be interested in interior designer, or
That's really that's really the goal, interior design.
Yeah, at the moment, that's what I want to do, and that's where I want to be. But I'm open to anything at the moment. I'm not really fussed at the moment. I just want to take one step at a time and just get my foot on the door first, and then see where I end up.
I like it. So you've got a goal in mind, you've got an aspiration, but at the same time you realise that, hey, maybe I'll have to start at the ground level, and you're quite happy to do that. You got to start at the bottom and work your way out. You can't just expect to jump straight to the top. It doesn't work like that. And I think that you are an amazing, resilient person. I remember when we got some bad news earlier this week about a job application, and you turned around and you wrote a list of all the things you've got to offer a cafe who's interested in considering you, and that list was pretty exhaustive.
Yes, so now, hopefully I'll have an opportunity sometime in the next couple of weeks to be able to work in a cafe. There's someone that believes in me. So I'm actually online at the moment and learning how to make coffees and lattes. So I've got one step ahead of myself, so that when I do get into that cafe, I will be able to have a little bit of experience in coffee making.
So you'll be looking at the coffee machine and you'll be like, hey, I know these frothy things do that, and how does that work? And so it's gonna be very, very easy to train you, because you're just going to be so trainable.
Yes, because I'm trying to learn myself from at home or at course before I get my foot in the door.
And you really are that focused. You set your sight on something, and it's just very difficult to shake you off, isn't it?
Yeah, I set my mind to something and I stay focused on that one thing, and I don't stop until I get there.
That's awesome. So what would you say to someone who's been through what you're going through, who's done a few applications, hasn't had good news? What would you say to them?
I'll say don't give up. Just keep going. And when you get that rejection letter or decline letter from an employer, just laugh at it, because there's someone out there that will be willing and will love to have you. And when that day comes, you can just laugh at all those rejection letters and say, "Oh no, I told you so. I'm good at something, and here I am."
And I love what you're doing with. I love what you're doing with this cafe. You're actually watching YouTube videos, figuring out, okay, how does that coffee machine work? You're actually schooling yourself up so that when you get there, and the person already likes you, but when you get there, you'll have something to offer at the interview straight away.
Yeah, all it is a little bit of research.
Research, magic word, research and reflection.
Research, yep. And being a warrior.
Never giving up.
That's right. Don't be defeated by anyone.
I'm loving it. Yeah. And so you've had dinner with the family. They're all fed. What, you're watching a movie now?
Yes, we're having our junk food junkie night with movies.
Oh, what are you watching?
And we're watching Cinderella.
Oh, that's gorgeous. Just you and the kids?
Yeah. Yeah, me and the kids. I got 4 kids. So we're just kicking back and
So what do they think about? What do they think about Mum doing all this stuff to get a job?
Well, my eldest is 11, and he told me that he's so proud of me today, which made me get watery eyes, because to hear that from your child, it means the world to me, to know that he's proud of his mum, because he's seen what I've gone through, and he knows that I'm trying, and that So for him to turn around and tell me that he's proud of me, I was just amazed. That gave me more courage and confidence to get out there and not to give up.
So you're doing it for yourself, but you're also doing it for your whānau.
Yes, mainly, I'm doing it but mainly for my kids. They're my inspiration.
Fantastic. Yeah. So lots of work next week, applying for new jobs, seeing who else is going to gain from having Kirsty on their staff. What would you say your biggest? What would you say the best thing you can offer right now is?
What I can offer? Well, I have a lot I can offer. My main one would be a can-do attitude, and willing to learn and to go the extra mile. Organised, focused, determined.
And the proof's in the pudding. I mean, I know you've been doing work experience just to demonstrate what you can offer. And you've probably got a couple of employers around town who, whilst they couldn't take you on because they don't have any vacancies, they could certainly vouch for you, couldn't they?
Yes, I've been doing work experience through some of the local businesses around town to get some references to go with my CV. And it's working out good. I actually enjoy doing work experience. I like to be busy, and I like to be hands-on. I don't like to stop. I like to get out there and do something.
Yeah, there's no resting with Kirsty in the room, is there? There's no resting with Kirsty in the room. We're here to work, mate. We're here to do things. We're here to achieve things. I remember when we were conducting a class field trip, we were visiting employers, and there might have been 1 or 2 people that were a little bit ho-ha with it. Kirsty's like, "Come on, we're going to go in here, we're going to talk with this employer, it was like listening to an auction at an auctioneer, and I was like, there's no way anyone was not going to visit employers with Kirsty on the team."
Yes, I like to motivate people, and I like to have, I like them to feel the energy and feel like they can do it as well. So if I can get my teammates along the side of me out there believing in themselves, then that's what I'll do. I'll encourage anyone that wants to walk the same path as me.
So when the coffee shop gives you a call on Monday and the owner asks for a latte, a flat white, and a cappuccino, you'll know how to make all three, will you?
Yes, if you bring the ingredients, I'll make them for you.
That's the way to go. Now it's interesting. You've got really strong mental and emotional attitude. How do you look after yourself physically so you're always fit and ready for the next job?
Good question. I have someone that believes in me, and with him believing in me, gives me the courage to be able to get through my day-to-day life and do what I have to do to survive and to be there for the kids. And I just go through my day laughing and making little jokes, and it makes me feel good.
Oh, excellent. So if I say, where do you see yourself in the next 12 months, in 12 months' time, if you're back on the radio, where will you want to be?
Well, hopefully I'll be halfway to coming up with a deposit to buy my first home for my kids, and I'll have employment.
Excellent.
So that home is really important, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. And I guess having your own home would be really, really lovely, because it's not easy finding accommodation anywhere, is it?
No, it's not. No, I struggled to get accommodation. I started off in emergency housing, and then through their help and support, I managed to get me and my kids housing in student house on the R.A.M. And we've been here for 2 years now, and we love it. Thanks to the people down there. They really helped me and supported me to get a house for the kids.
They're great people, aren't they? You know what, I've just had a brilliant brainwave. What we probably should do is get people contacting us on Life Skills Patrol Facebook page with Ask Kirsty.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm struggling with this, Ask Kirsty, and then Kirsty could tell them what to do every week. What do you think?
Sorry, could you repeat that one? I couldn't hear you.
Alright, well, Life Skills Patrol has got a Facebook page, so maybe we should say to people, look, if you've got any questions, if you need some encouragement, maybe they could send a question to Ask Kirsty, and I could ring you up every week and you could give them the answer.
Yes, I have a Facebook page. It's Kirsty R.A.M. If you want to ask me any questions or know anything or would like some help and support, I know some people that are willing to help and support you.
Yep.
So log into my Facebook page.
Or maybe even offer you a job, Kirsty.
Pardon?
Maybe if someone wanted to offer you a job, they could contact you on Facebook.
Yes, if you were to offer me a job, I'd be highly grateful and appreciated.
Fantastic. Hey, really enjoyed having you on the show, Kirsty. I'll let you get back to your movie because you don't want to miss too much of Cinderella. That's a classic.
Thank you, Wayne, and thank you, Nick, for having me on the show.
Thank you.
Welcome. Good night.
Good night, Kirsty.
Good night.
Well, Nick, there's someone that is not going to take no for an answer.
No, and I think that's one of the things about resilience. You've just got to keep plugging away. And I think the trouble is these days people find it too easy to give up. And that's for a whole host of reasons. The first, I suppose, is there's too many parents and grandparents who are happy to bail their children out at any reason for any purpose. And I'll give you some examples of some of the colleagues I've worked with over the years, what they've been doing. There's a chap I used to work with, he's got 3 of his children living at home. He provides them with a car, he pays for their overseas trips. Now he's earning exceptionally big money by anybody's standards, but these children, to put it in perspective, when I knew him, were 26, 28 and 29 years of age. Those 3 children have no resilience whatsoever, because as soon as something goes wrong, the first call is, Dad, can I have some money? It doesn't mean you don't ask parents and grandparents and family for help and support when you really are stuck, but resilience is about trying to work things out for yourself and taking some responsibility for trying to solve the problem. Now, resilience is an interesting concept because it applies to a lot of things. It applies to your personal health. So if you decide to not exercise and put on weight, that basically means you have a really low physical resilience because you're not taking responsibility for your physical health. If you choose to watch TV all day and do nothing but watch TV, probably your mental resilience is no good. So when someone asks you to do simple mathematics or read a book. You just can't do it because you're out of practice. Emotional resilience is another interesting concept. That's the ability to handle rejection, to handle criticism in a constructive way. Some criticism is never fair, but it doesn't mean you have to lose your cool if you think it's unfair. The idea with criticism is you take it in, you think about it, and if you think it's appropriate, you make changes so you become a more all-rounded person and perhaps more capable of handling that situation next time round. But the whole reason about physical, emotional and mental resilience is about trying to become the person you want to be. And Kirsty has already sorted out, she knows where she wants to go, she knows what she wants to be, and through her own effort she's probably going to get there. The only question is when. And I'm sure there are people out there who'd love to have someone like Kirsty in their shop or in their factory working for them, because they have the right attitude. And with the right attitude you can learn most things, and you can also change over time and evolve into something different. And I think at the end of the day, taking responsibility comes about managing your peaks and your valleys. When you're at the peak, don't just take all the money and go spend, spend, spend. Think about what you might need when things suddenly go wrong, or when you might need a few extra dollars in your bank account. When you're at your peak, don't forget your friends. Keep that emotional network in place. And when you're at your peak, don't do 60, 80, 100-hour weeks and let your physical health go down the toilet. And likewise, when you're at your peak, make sure you have some time out, because there's nothing worse than working long hours and getting mentally stressed out. And finally, the most important thing to remember is your current job is not the critical one. It's the skills you can offer your next employer that really counts. Because in this day and age, you can't guarantee the job will last, but your resilience and the skills you offer can last and see you through a valley and move you into a new peak.
I think I couldn't agree more with you, Nick. I think that's all well said, because the reality of today's employment world is, 2-3 years, that's pretty much a mini career in the job cycle these days. And the next employer is looking for what more you can offer. And so your job, I think, in an employment situation is to deliver what you need to deliver to your employer, but go the extra mile, learn some new things, because what you become is going to be is going to dictate what sort of job you're going to have next.
Yes, and
the other thing is that training is changing. Like learning and training, the old school teacher standing up in front of the class giving you the answers, it's not there anymore, is it?
No, it isn't. And sometimes you've got to accept the fact that if you don't know how to do some advanced Excel spreadsheets or how to develop a Word document in a certain way, it comes onto yourself to actually pick up those skills. And the beauty about the internet, the most powerful thing about the internet, is being able to teach yourself, like Kirsty is with making coffees tonight or tomorrow morning, is one of the most powerful tools you've got available to yourself, and you should learn to use it. I once told a couple of people, if you use the internet 90% of the time for entertainment and only 10% for developing yourself, that probably will not help you. You've got to recognise that investing in yourself is as important as having fun and games that you can get off the internet.
I agree, and I think you sent me a message today. It was from Careers HMO. There's a real website called Career Realism. There's only one R, but it's Career Realism, and part of that, through that website, you can contact Careers HMO, and they have some fantastic advice on how to jump through the employment hoops, how to beat the competition. If there is one job going and there are 100 applicants, if you are going to get that job, you need to be in the top 1%. No excuses. There is no second place. So really, use the internet. There are these websites, there are these places. A lot of the more vocational-based informational websites feed off LinkedIn, don't they?
Yes.
So LinkedIn is a great tool. It's a bit like Facebook for business. You want to kind of, I don't want to sound rude, but you kind of want to keep your friends away from there and just link in with business contacts, pretty much, right?
Yeah, I think the important thing with friends is they're not a friend if you're not physically seeing them from time to time. I mean, you can't call somebody who's on Facebook you haven't seen for 6 years a friend. They might be someone you contact, but it's very difficult to actually call them a friend, because the idea of friendship is not just having their picture and being able to send them emails. It's about having a meal. It's about going fishing. It's about going to a movie together. It's about exploring other things.
Like the guys at Wise Guys.
Yes, correct. I think Wise Guys is is a model that a lot of people need to recognise. And they once told me that on Facebook there's people of 300-400 people who they call friends, but when the crunch comes, they believe that on Facebook most people will only have 3 to 5 people maximum who will be genuinely there when they need the help.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. And I think too, the thing to remember about LinkedIn is it is business, it's not social. Business has an element of social, so it's social business, but it's not social.
Yeah, correct. And I think the important thing also with LinkedIn is you need to be aware that these days people go from LinkedIn, they find you on Facebook, they look at what you have on Facebook, and they look at the friends you have on Facebook. And that is actually a recruitment trick that is now being used by some employers to weed out a very, very short list. So if you're in the final 5 and your Facebook account is, to put it simplistically, a mess in terms of what they don't want to see, you can probably get ruled out on that, and you'll never know why because they won't tell you.
Actually, I notice that as a common recurring theme these days. You can ask an employer, so why didn't I get an interview? And it's too dangerous for them to actually give you a reason, isn't it?
It is too dangerous, and it's even too dangerous if you phone up and say, look, I've got 80% of the skills, haven't got the last 20, how important are these last 20? And they just won't tell you. Now, if you handle it correctly by hemming around the questions that you need the answers to, and I'll give you an example. If you're a heavy truck driver and you haven't got one category of driving license or one type of license, ask how important that particular license is. Don't tell them you don't have it. Just say how significant is it, and what sort of experience would you expect a successful candidate to have in terms of that aspect of the license that you don't have, and then you can make a judgment call yourself whether you should be investing time. There is nothing worse than sending a CV out to the same for numerous employers for the same types of jobs, because you eventually get known as someone who's just job shopping and unfortunately also possibly a bit desperate to find work, which is an unfortunate position to be in when you're looking for work. Even if it's true, you don't want to give the employment market that impression that you're desperate.
That's brilliant. Well, thank you, Nick. Well, just before we close off for the night, we'll have Adam coming in with his computer corner in just a moment. Hey, you're with Life Skills Patrol on Beagle 88.1 FM or online, beagleradio.co.nz. We're being joined by Adam. Adam has an IT company and he's teaching us all about computers. Adam, tell us about your company.
Well, me and my friend are running a business. It's called FCAD Technologies, FCAD Technologies. You can visit our website at fcad.tech. That's fcad.tech.
Great. And Adam, you've been teaching us about the computer. Last week you took us through the anatomy of a computer. You included everything there is to know. Now we're going to look at some of those components in detail. So what are we talking about tonight?
Tonight we're talking about RAM, random access memory. There are different types of RAM. There's RAM, with normal RAM, which goes in a normal desktop, random access memory. ECC, error correcting memory, which is designed for servers mainly. There's ROM, which is reader-only memory. And then there's the opposite of RAM, which is SAM, serial access memory. Now, start off with the basics. RAM only remembers things when it is powered on. It's used for whatever the computer is working on. RAM is called random access memory because in theory it's just as quick for the computer to read or write information from any one of the RAM chips. ROM, read-only memory, it remembers anything whether it is powered on or off. It stores things like the BIOS, basic input and output systems. The opposite of RAM is SAM, serial access memory, as I said before. SAM stores data in a series of memory cells that can only be accessed sequentially, like a cassette tape. SAM is normally stored in the order it will be accessed, whereas RAM can be accessed in any order. RAM is not... Some people come up to me sometimes and say, Adam, if I put more RAM inside my computer, will that speed it up? Well, The answer is RAM is not necessarily one of those things that speeds up a PC. It only allows more tasks to be open at once. Then they say, okay, then how much RAM do I need in my computer? Well, honestly, there is no straight answer to how much RAM people actually need in their PC, but there are basic guidelines you can go by. 4 GB is plenty for the average workstation day-to-day use. 8 to 16 is optimal for gaming. 32 GB and more is more for rendering or super heavy load like in a server. What is RAM speed? RAM speed is the frequency shown in megahertz or gigahertz. It's basically how quick information is thrown into the CPU or processor. If there are any more questions, you can go to our website fcad.tech, that is fcad.tech, and give our support team a call. Thank you.
Fantastic, Adam. I learn something new from you every time I talk to you. Alright, so that wraps us up for Life Skills Patrol on Beagle 88.1. If you need to contact the station for any reason, feel free to email us at info@beagleradio.co.nz. Our video of tonight's show will be streamed on our Facebook page, which is Life Skills Patrol, and we also have a YouTube channel, Life Skills Patrol. So until next week, 6 to 8, we'll say good night.